All right, let's kick off with some season predictions. Could you give us a week by week breakdown of how you think OU's season will unfold this year?
Yeah, fittingly, we go with OU as the first team that we talk about here. But similar to we just talked, Texas and OU, very similar schedules a week. Texas team school that most people haven't heard of. You guys have Texas State right off the bat. We get UTEP right off the bat, easy wins. And then tough Big Ten schools week 2. You guys host Ohio State. OU goes to Michigan. I think for OU, Bryce Underwood was in the blender last year. I know it's a different quarterback. It's a year later. It was his first career start, but Venables kind of just had his number and tends to do that with about every quarterback he faces. I think he does that even. And again, it's week 2. It's a lot of new stuff under Kyle Whittingham for Bryce Underwood again. And so that's why I have OU winning that big non-con conference or big non-con matchup week 2.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Michigan has a lot of question marks that Oklahoma doesn't this year. And even though you're going into the big house, just like Texas did a couple of years ago, the home field advantage isn't enough to push Michigan over the brink. And I think y'all can take that dub pretty easily.
Plus, it's at noon. I mean, that big noon kickoff kills them not as lively at noon as compared to where it would be at night. And then they come back home to play New Mexico, not a cupcake. I mean, New Mexico is receiving votes in the preseason polls, but still, it's New Mexico. Talent, depth, everything's going to prevail. I'm sure you don't have to share much input. I don't think you have that big of an upset coming. And then, similar to Texas as well, a big SEC opener. OU goes to Georgia. I've spent, since the schedule came out, I have never crossed my mind that OU walks away from Athens with the win. I just think that defense, again, you're going into Athens, it's probably going to be a night game. As good as Brent Venables is putting and tormenting quarterbacks, if there's any quarterback that can handle it, it's Gunnar Stockton with that talent and experience that he has. I think they're built and equipped to be able to withstand whatever Venables and whatever the Sooners have, no matter how good I think they will be this year. I think it's hard to say guaranteed win in August or guaranteed loss in August, but I feel like that's one where I'm like every single time chalking up as a loss for OU right now.
As someone who has suffered a beaten fan syndrome against Georgia over the last few years, it's seems nearly impossible to go into Georgia and beat them at home. They've had one of the longest home winning streaks in all of college football recently. So it's a really tough task, much less your first time doing it in the conference. So I'm not confident Oklahoma has a chance in that one. But okay, there's your first loss of the season, sitting at 3-1 so far.
First loss, 3-1 during a brutal stretch. 3 ranked opponents in the first 5 games. Toughest back-to-back is that trip to Athens, and then you get a bye week to separate a little bit. And then the basis of this, whatever we call it, it's not a podcast.
It's why we're here.
Whatever we're doing, this media we're doing, is why we're here is the Red River rivalry. After a bye week, Texas is the bye week, correct, the week before as well. I think it may be a horrible reason to base a prediction. I just don't see OU losing to this team and Brent Venables losing to Texas 3 years in a row. I mean, I think we can both agree, we can hit on each other, but these are 2 good teams, and they have been good teams the last 2 years. Even though OU was 6-7 2 years ago, they were still solid teams. They're solid rosters. And so to beat a good team, that good of a team 3 years in a row, I just find hard. And then you're going to have a healthy John Mateer. Texas kind of got OU at its worst last year. John Mateer just now coming back. And I know we hear all about the no touchdown thing, but it still wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like it was like, oh, man, this game is over from the get-go. Even though you had no offense, the defense still kept them in the game most of the time. So I don't see that. And you'll never, ever hear me put on paper that I think Texas would beat OU. What about you, Sam?
I definitely think it'll be closer. I will give Oklahoma at least 1 touchdown. I think it'll be virtually a clash of the Titans when it comes to these 2 defenses. Even with Mateer and Arch Manning running the offensive side of the ball, I just think these are 2 of the stoutest, strongest defenses in the country, and it'll be low scoring. And as much as it makes me feel ill to admit it, I also agree that Texas will not be able to beat OU 3 years in a row Oh, I think it'll be close, and both sides will score a touchdown. But I do have Oklahoma walking away with the win this year.
This is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this. I like this.
Yeah, I'm sad. Sad Longhorn.
So a lot of in-depth analysis for us the first couple games. It kind of, again, these schedules are they're very similar. It's kind of coasting. A lot of media darlings, I guess, the rest of the way, where you have some schools where people are like, this team's going to be really good. It sounds like you're probably like me. You're not as high as everyone else is on them. OU hosts Kentucky. Do you have any issues with that? They go to Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is going to be better under Jeff Lebby. I still see no issues with that. They host South Carolina. No issues there. They go to Florida. You know something about teams going to Florida, right? Even against bad Florida teams.
The swap's tricky. And they have a real head coach now. So
you have Red Hill. But the thing is, they don't have a quarterback. I mean, as of recording, they just named Georgia Tech's backup as their starting quarterback. I think that's going to be, whatever the swamp can cause for John Mateer and OU's offense, it's going to be a lot worse for whatever Brent Venables' defense causes for Florida's offense and whoever they still have quarterback at that point. After that, they host Ole Miss. I think Lane Kiffin, not a good guy, great coach. So I think we're going to see the fall of Ole Miss this year at some point. Then they host A&M. I'm in on the bandwagon that A&M kind of coasted through an easy schedule last year as far as SEC. The standards of the SEC is easy. I don't think they have an issue with that. I like Marcel Reed. I think he's an experienced guy. It can probably handle that atmosphere and Venables' defense pretty well, but I just don't see it. And then they go to Mizzou, again, number 25 in the AP. I don't know why
they're always sneaking into the top 25.
I don't know. And so you don't have any losses at that point?
I think A&M could cause some problems, but I think y'all can beat them out. I also, despite having John Summerall at the reins, I think y'all beat out Florida. I definitely think you beat out Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri. I mean, these are bottom half SEC teams. And yeah, I think Oklahoma should be able to be just fine, barring any unforeseen disasters for y'all.
Yeah, no broken thumbs. And I'm looking at 11-1 back to the college football playoff for the Sooners. And now all of a sudden, Roger Denny looks like a genius for extending Brent Venables in August.